There is a moment that most people never talk about. A moment when the world is asleep, the streets are silent, the noise has disappeared, and all that remains is a quiet conversation between you and the person you are becoming. If you've ever found yourself awake at 4 in the morning, staring into the darkness while your heart whispered that your life could be different, then this message was waiting for you long before you pressed play. Because 4 a.m. is not just a time on the clock, it is a question, and the way you answer it will quietly shape the rest of your life. Most people believe success is created in crowded rooms, loud meetings, or dramatic opportunities. They spend their days chasing recognition, hoping someone else will notice their effort. But history has always protected a different secret. Transformation is rarely loud. It happens in silence. It happens when no applause exists, when nobody is watching, when your excuses have no audience. 4 in the morning is where character introduces itself. It is where discipline stops being an idea and becomes an identity. That is why so few people ever discover its power. They never stay awake long enough to meet the version of themselves waiting in the silence. You see, every person has two voices living inside them. One whispers comfort. The other whispers greatness. The comfortable voice says, stay where it's warm, sleep a little longer, tomorrow will be different. It sounds kind, almost loving. But kindness without growth is only another disguise for fear. Then there is the quieter voice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply asks, what if your future depends on what you do right now? That voice is easy to ignore during the day because the world is noisy. But at 4 in the morning, when everything else becomes silent, that voice suddenly becomes impossible to escape. Have you ever noticed how your deepest fears seem louder before sunrise? It isn't because the darkness creates them. The darkness simply removes the distractions that had been hiding them. During the day, you can blame traffic, schedules, difficult people, bad luck, or circumstances. But before the sun rises, there is nowhere left to hide. At that hour, you meet yourself without filters. You see the promises you broke, the dreams you postponed, the talents you buried beneath convenience. It is uncomfortable because truth always arrives without permission. Yet discomfort is often the first evidence that growth has finally begun. Most people are not defeated because they lack intelligence. They are defeated because they negotiate with themselves every single morning. The alarm rings, and immediately, the negotiations begin. Just 10 more minutes. I'll start tomorrow. I deserve another hour. What seems like a harmless decision slowly becomes a lifelong habit. The greatest tragedy isn't losing a single morning. The tragedy is teaching your mind that your word means nothing. Every broken promise weakens your confidence. Not because someone else saw you fail, but because your subconscious never forgets when you betray yourself. Self-respect is built one kept promise at a time. Imagine a man standing at the edge of a mountain before dawn. No audience, no cameras, no cheering crowd, just cold air filling his lungs and the first light preparing to touch the horizon. Why would he climb when nobody is watching? Because he finally understands something that changes everything. The climb was never for the world. It was for the man he became with every difficult step. Life works the same way. Every time you rise while comfort begs you to stay still, you are climbing a mountain nobody else can see. And those invisible mountains eventually become visible victories. The strange thing about discipline is that it never feels important in the moment. One morning doesn't look extraordinary. One workout seems insignificant. Reading one chapter feels too small to matter. Writing one page appears almost meaningless. But life never changes because of one dramatic event. It changes because ordinary actions quietly become extraordinary habits. The oak tree never argues with the seasons. It simply grows a little every day until one day people stand beneath its shade wondering how something so powerful began. They never witnessed the invisible growth beneath the surface. Yet that hidden growth made everything possible. Many people pray for confidence while avoiding the very actions that create it. Confidence isn't something you find. It isn't hidden inside motivational speeches or waiting inside another book. Confidence is evidence. It is your mind remembering that you have survived difficult mornings before. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, your brain collects proof that you are stronger than your emotions. Eventually, you stop asking if you can do hard things because you already know the answer. Your identity changes before your circumstances ever do. That is the invisible miracle of the 4 o'clock mindset. There is another reason why 4 in the morning feels so powerful. At that hour, The world cannot tell you who you are. Social media is quiet. Opinions are asleep. Comparisons lose their grip. You are finally alone with your own thoughts. And for many people, that is terrifying. We have become so addicted to noise that silence feels like punishment. Yet silence has always been the birthplace of wisdom. Every great decision begins where distractions end. The strongest people are not those who always have the right answers. They are the ones willing to sit alone long enough to ask themselves the right questions. Perhaps that is why so many people avoid waking before sunrise. It isn't the early hour they fear. It is the reflection waiting there. Because 4 in the morning asks dangerous questions. Are you becoming who you promised yourself you would become? Are your habits serving your dreams or destroying them? Is your future being built intentionally or accidentally? Those questions cannot be answered with words. They are answered by action. And every sunrise quietly records the answer whether you realize it or not. Here's the truth that few are willing to accept. Your life is not changing when the world notices you. Your life is changing in the invisible moments when nobody does. The seeds of greatness are planted in private long before they bloom in public. Long before people admire your confidence, your success, your strength, or your peace, there will be mornings when only you know the battle you fought. Those unseen victories become the foundation for everything that follows. But there is something even deeper hidden inside the 4 a.m. mindset. Something that has nothing to do with waking up early and everything to do with rebuilding the relationship you have with yourself. And once you understand that hidden truth, you'll never look at another sunrise the same way. Most people spend their lives trying to change their results without ever changing the person creating those results. They chase a better job, a better opportunity, a better relationship, a better season. They believe the next achievement will finally quiet the restlessness inside them. But let me tell you something I learned long ago. A new destination never transforms an old mindset. If you carry the same habits, the same excuses, and the same fear into tomorrow, tomorrow simply becomes another version of yesterday. The real battle is never outside of you. It has always been within you. 4 in the morning is where that battle becomes impossible to ignore. There is something almost sacred about watching the world before it wakes. The sky does not rush the sunrise. It waits. Patiently, quietly, faithfully. Nature understands a principle that human beings often forget. Everything meaningful requires preparation before it becomes visible. The roots grow long before the branches reach the sky. The foundation is poured long before the building touches the clouds. Yet people become impatient with themselves after only a few days of effort. They expect years of neglect to disappear in a week of motivation. Growth doesn't work that way. The greatest transformations are invisible before they become undeniable. Think about the person you admire most. It is easy to celebrate their success now. It is easy to applaud the confidence they carry or the discipline they display. But what you rarely see are the mornings when they question themselves. The mornings when they doubted whether any of their effort mattered. The mornings when giving up felt completely reasonable. Every remarkable life contains invisible chapters that the world never reads. Those chapters are written in silence, in sacrifice, and in decisions nobody applauds. That is why success often looks effortless to those who never witnessed the struggle behind it. The human mind is fascinating. It is designed to protect you, not necessarily to grow you. Every time you decide to wake before comfort invites you back into sleep, your mind immediately begins producing reasons to stop. It isn't because you are weak. It is because your brain mistakes familiarity for safety. The unknown feels dangerous, even when the unknown contains your greatest opportunity. This is why discipline feels uncomfortable. You're not simply fighting fatigue. You're challenging years of programming that convinced you comfort was the highest goal. The truth is that comfort has never built extraordinary lives. It has only preserved ordinary ones. You cannot become powerful while remaining emotionally dependent on how you feel. Feelings are beautiful servants, but terrible leaders. Some mornings, you will feel inspired. Other mornings, you will feel inspired. Some days, confidence will walk beside you like an old friend. Other days, fear will whisper louder than hope. If your actions depend entirely on your emotions, your future will always be unstable. Mature people understand something that changes everything. They do not ask, how do I feel today? They ask, who am I choosing to become today? Identity outlasts emotion. Character outlasts mood. Purpose outlasts temporary discomfort. One of the greatest lies ever believed is that motivation creates action. In reality, action often creates motivation. The hardest part is rarely the work itself. The hardest part is taking the first step while your emotions are arguing against you. Once you begin, something remarkable happens. Your energy follows your movement. Your confidence follows your commitment. Your belief follows your consistency. Waiting until you feel ready is like waiting for the ocean to stop moving before learning to sail. Readiness is born through movement, not before it. At 4 in the morning, you begin noticing patterns that were invisible before. You realize that every excuse sounds convincing until it meets a determined decision. You realize that procrastination rarely comes dressed as laziness. It often disguises itself as perfectionism. I'll start when I have more time. I'll begin when everything is organized. I'll move when the conditions are better. But life has never rewarded perfect conditions. It rewards courageous beginnings. Every masterpiece started as an imperfect first attempt. Every confident person was once uncertain. Every disciplined soul was once tempted to quit. There is another reason why these quiet hours carry so much power. They remind you that loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is feeling disconnected from yourself. Solitude is finally reconnecting with who you truly are. During the day, your attention is borrowed by notifications, conversations, obligations, and endless expectations. Before sunrise, your attention comes home. You hear your own thoughts without interruption. At first, that silence can be uncomfortable because it reveals everything you have been avoiding. But if you remain there long enough, silence stops feeling empty. It begins feeling honest. Perhaps the greatest prison is not failure. It is the identity you repeat to yourself every single day. I'm not disciplined. I'm always behind. I've wasted too much time. Maybe I'm just not good enough. Those sentences become invisible walls around your future. They are repeated so often that they begin to sound like facts. But they are not facts. They are rehearsed conclusions. The beautiful thing about identity is that it changes every time your actions contradict your old story. Every morning you rise when you once surrendered, you are rewriting the script your subconscious has been reading for years. Do not underestimate the quiet power of keeping promises to yourself. When you tell yourself you will wake up, and you do, something deeper than productivity is happening. Trust is being rebuilt. Every fulfilled promise sends a message to your subconscious. You can depend on me. And once you begin trusting yourself, something extraordinary happens. Fear loses its authority. Doubt loses its voice. The need for constant external validation begins to fade because your confidence is no longer borrowed from other people's opinions. It is earned through your own consistency. One day, people may ask you how you became so disciplined, so calm under pressure, so focused when others lose direction. They will search for a secret technique or a magical shortcut. They may never realize that your greatest advantage was not talent, intelligence, or luck. It was thousands of quiet decisions made while the rest of the world remained asleep. Decisions that looked insignificant at the time but slowly transformed your identity from the inside out. Every sunrise became another vote for the person you wanted to become. And yet, there's one final lesson hidden within the 4 a.m. mindset lesson that separates those who merely wake up early from those who truly transform their lives. Because rising before dawn is not the destination, it is only the doorway. What waits on the other side has the power to change not just your mornings, but every decision, every relationship, and every year that follows. That is where the real journey begins. The final truth about the 4 a.m. mindset has never been about the hour itself. It has always been about the person who answers its call. There are people who wake at 4 every morning and remain exactly the same because they carry the same excuses into a quieter room. Then there are those who rise before the sun and allow the silence to reshape them. The clock is not the miracle. The decision is. The morning is simply an invitation. Transformation begins the moment you stop asking life to become easier and start asking yourself to become stronger. One morning, perhaps sooner than you expect, you will stand in front of a mirror and notice something impossible to measure. Your face may look the same. Your surroundings may not have changed. The world may not even recognize the difference, but you will. There will be a calmness that wasn't there before, a steadiness that no longer depends on perfect circumstances. You will realize that the battles which once exhausted you have become the very things that strengthened you. That is how real change happens. It doesn't announce itself. It quietly becomes your new normal. Many people spend years trying to defeat fear, never realizing that fear was never meant to disappear. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing your purpose over your comfort. Even at 4 in the morning, there will be days when uncertainty sits beside you. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy and your mind begins negotiating again. But now something inside you has changed. You no longer expect the journey to be easy. You expect yourself to be faithful. And faithfulness has a power that motivation will never possess. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. Faithfulness remains to every season. The greatest victory you will ever experience is not earning more money, gaining more followers, or hearing strangers applaud your success. Those things may come, and they may disappear just as quickly. The greatest victory is becoming a person who no longer needs comfort to believe in themselves. Imagine waking each day knowing your confidence cannot be stolen by criticism, delayed by failure, or weakened by temporary disappointment. That is freedom. And freedom is built through thousands of invisible choices that nobody celebrates except the person making them. There is an old habit that quietly destroys more dreams than failure ever could. It is the habit of waiting for permission, waiting for someone to believe in you before you believe in yourself, waiting for your family to understand your vision, waiting for your friends to support your goals, waiting for the perfect opportunity to arrive. But the sunrise never asks permission to appear. It simply rises because that is its nature. Your purpose deserves the same commitment. Stop asking whether the world is ready for your potential. Ask whether you are finally ready to stop hiding it. As the days pass, something beautiful begins to happen. The discipline that once felt painful starts feeling natural. The alarm that once sounded like an enemy begins sounding like an invitation. The silence that once frightened you becomes your favorite companion. Why? Because you are no longer escaping yourself. You are finally meeting yourself. You begin discovering gifts that were buried beneath distraction. Patience you never knew you possessed. Strength you thought belonged to someone else. Wisdom that had been waiting beneath years of unnecessary noise. The greatest discoveries in life are rarely found in distant places. They are uncovered within. There will still be difficult mornings. Never believe that disciplined people stop struggling. They simply stop surrendering. They understand that every meaningful life contains resistance. The athlete faces resistance. The entrepreneur faces resistance. The artist faces resistance. The parent faces resistance. The leader faces resistance. Resistance is not evidence that you are on the wrong path. Often, it is confirmation that you are finally walking the right one. Diamonds are created under pressure. Character is revealed the same way. Perhaps the most remarkable transformation is one that nobody can see. At first, you wake early to change your schedule. Then, you realize your schedule is changing your habits. Soon, your habits begin changing your character. Eventually, your character begins changing your destiny. Notice how quietly that happens. Destiny is not created in one dramatic moment. It is built through ordinary mornings repeated with extraordinary consistency. Every sunrise becomes another brick in the foundation of a life that cannot be shaken by temporary storms. You will also notice that your relationships begin to change, not because you demand different people, but because you become a different person. You stop chasing approval because your self-respect has become more valuable than acceptance. You stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you because peace has become stronger than your need to be right. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's because comparison cannot survive in a heart that finally knows its own purpose. Emotional maturity is not learning how to control others. It is learning how to master yourself. There is a reason the world admires people who carry quiet confidence. It cannot be manufactured. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be faked for very long. Quiet confidence is the result of private victories. It is born from mornings when you chose discipline over delay, purpose over pleasure, action over excuses. Every promise you kept to yourself became another layer of unshakable belief. Eventually, your presence begins speaking before your words ever do. People sense the difference even if they cannot explain it. They are witnessing the invisible weight of consistency. Never forget this. Your future is listening to every decision you make today. Every morning you rise with intention, your future becomes stronger. Every time you surrender to convenience, your future becomes weaker. Life is always responding to the habits you repeat, not the dreams you imagine. Dreams are beautiful, but habits are the bridge that carries dreams into reality. The bridge is built one disciplined morning at a time. And if today is your first step, Do not worry about becoming extraordinary overnight. No mountain is conquered in a single stride. No masterpiece is painted with one brushstroke. No life is transformed by one sunrise alone. Simply win this morning, then win the next, and then the one after that. Small victories have a remarkable way of becoming extraordinary lives when they are repeated with unwavering commitment. One day, years from now, someone may look at your life and say, "You were lucky." Smile quietly, because you will remember the mornings they never saw. You will remember the cold air, the empty streets, the silent battles, the moments when quitting would have been easier than continuing. You will remember choosing growth while the world was still asleep. And in that moment, you will understand that luck had very little to do with it. Character was built before daylight ever arrived. So tomorrow morning, when the world is wrapped in silence and the first whisper of dawn reaches your window, listen carefully. You will hear two voices once again. One will invite you back into the comfort of the life you already know. The other will gently call you toward the life you were created to live. The choice will seem small. It always does. But the smallest choices, repeated faithfully, become the greatest stories ever written. Thank you for sharing these quiet moments with me. If these words awaken something inside you, something that refuses to settle for an ordinary life, then I invite you to stay on this journey. Subscribe to the channel, because this is more than motivation. It is a conversation about becoming the person you are always capable of being. And until we meet again, remember this simple truth. The sunrise does not reward those who merely watch it. It rewards those who prepared for it long before the first light ever touched the sky. Your next chapter is waiting. The question is, will you be awake when it arrives? There is one final thought I want to leave with you because it may be the one that changes everything. People often ask, what is the secret of successful people? They expect an answer they have never heard before. They imagine a hidden formula, a special talent, or an extraordinary gift. But after watching people for decades, I discovered something far simpler and far more powerful. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is rarely found in the spectacular moments. It is found in the ordinary moments that most people overlook. The alarm clock, the first decision of the day, the private conversation with yourself when no one else is listening. That is where destinies quietly begin. Never forget that life is always asking you a question. It asks it every morning, every setback, every disappointment, every unexpected opportunity. The question is never, can you control everything? You can't. The question is, can you control yourself? Because if you can master yourself, circumstances lose their power to define you. Storms may still come. People may still disappoint you. Plans may still fall apart. But there is something inside a disciplined person that remains untouched. Their peace is no longer borrowed from favorable conditions. It is rooted in unshakable character. You may have noticed something remarkable about the strongest people you have ever met. They do not waste energy proving themselves. They do not need constant applause to continue. They are not driven by the fear of being forgotten. Their confidence comes from somewhere much deeper. It comes from the quiet knowledge that they have kept promises no one else even knew they made. Every 4 o'clock morning became another silent agreement with themselves. Every difficult choice became another reason to trust the person staring back at them in the mirror. That kind of confidence cannot be purchased. It must be earned. There will be seasons when progress feels invisible. You will wonder whether your effort matters. You will look around and see others moving faster, celebrating bigger victories, receiving recognition that seems unfair. In those moments, guard your heart carefully. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose sight of your own calling. The oak tree never envies the pine. The river never competes with the mountain. Everything in nature fulfills its purpose by growing according to its own design. Your assignment is not to become someone else. Your assignment is to become the fullest expression of who you were created to be. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough is not learning something new. It is finally believing something you have known all along. Deep inside, you already know what needs to change. You know which habits have been stealing your future. You know which excuses have become too familiar. You know which dreams you've placed on the shelf because disappointment convinced you they were impossible. The truth has been whispering to you for years. 4 in the morning simply gives you enough silence to hear it again. Imagine your life 5 years from now. Not the version built on wishes, but the version built on daily choices. Imagine waking each morning with a mind that no longer argues against your purpose. Imagine carrying yourself with quiet confidence because your actions and your values finally agree. Imagine entering every room knowing that your greatest competition is no longer other people but the person you were yesterday. That future is not created by one extraordinary decision. It is created by thousands of ordinary decisions made with extraordinary consistency. There is a beautiful paradox in life. The more disciplined you become, the more freedom you experience. At first, discipline feels like sacrifice. You give up comfort, you give up excuses, you give up immediate pleasure. But over time, you discover that what you truly sacrificed were your limitations. You exchanged temporary comfort for lasting peace. You traded distraction for clarity. You replaced regret with self-respect. What once felt like restriction becomes the very thing that sets you free. That is why discipline is not punishment. It is one of the purest forms of self-love. And don't be discouraged if you've wasted years. Every person listening to these words has something they wish they could do over. Some carry the weight of missed opportunities. Others carry broken relationships, abandoned dreams, or years spent doubting themselves. But listen carefully. The past can educate you without imprisoning you. Your history may explain where you are, but it never has the authority to decide where you will go. The moment you choose responsibility over regret, you reclaim the power to write a different ending. One sunrise cannot erase years of hesitation, but one sunrise can begin a new direction. One decision can become a new habit. One habit can become a new identity. One identity can transform an entire lifetime. Never underestimate the power of a single morning lived with intention. Great lives are not built by dramatic revolutions. They are built by quiet revolutions of the heart, repeated day after day until excellence becomes natural. So, tomorrow, when the alarm breaks the silence before dawn, pause for just a moment. Don't think about how tired you are. Don't think about how comfortable the bed feels. Ask yourself one question. Who is making this decision, my comfort or my future? That single question has the power to change everything. Because every morning you answer it, you cast another vote for the person you are becoming, and eventually, the votes become your identity. I believe there is greatness inside you. Not because greatness is reserved for a fortunate few, but because every human being has the ability to choose growth over comfort. The difference is that very few people make that choice consistently. Be one of the few. Let your actions speak so loudly that your doubts can no longer be heard. Let your mornings become the foundation upon which your dreams are built. And when the world finally notices your success, smile with humility, knowing the real victory happened long before anyone was watching. Thank you for spending this time with me. If these words spoke to something deep within your spirit, then this journey has only just begun. Subscribe to the channel and become part of the community committed not merely to success, but to character, purpose, and lasting transformation. Share this message with someone who needs a reminder that their future is still waiting for them. And as you leave today, carry this thought with you wherever you go. The sun never asks whether you are ready before it rises. It simply fulfills its purpose. Perhaps tomorrow morning, before the world opens its eyes, you'll decide to do the same.